Chitoforo, are you with us this afternoon?
Yes, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can get you right on.
Okay, good. So for me, some of the most eventful, or will I say impactful events for 2022 uh, comes from politics, sports, the world of sports, and the world of business and investments. So we have some of the biggest investments on the continent this year. You have a lot of investments that has gone to Egypt, for example. Egypt has continued to attract a lot of foreign direct investments. You'll also remember that when the Ukrainian crisis started, over 57,000 Ukrainian and Russians were uh, in Egypt at that time. These are holiday goers and fun seekers who just needed a place that is beautiful and receptive, that is far from home. That number is significant. One of the other issues that impacted the continent was the disruption that wheat supply caused. Bread went up, the prices of bread, across the continent, places where bread is the staple, had to start adjusting to the, reality that wheat and other components for the making, of bread is no longer as available as it was. Another thing is the Kenyan election. So we had anticipated, we had worry, we had panic that the Kenyan election may be marred by violence, as we witnessed some time ago,
Yes.
post-election violence. However, that did not happen against all the predictions of naysayers, doomsayers and all that. Kenya had a smooth election, even though it was heated, and then we have a president who has spent over 100 days in office, and we are beginning to count, the successes of, the administration. Another thing we should not forget quickly is the elections are held, in Angola, in Equatorial Guinea, where in Angola, the opposition tried without fail. I mean, or it tried and failed to, to beat João Lourenço out of office. We also have the Equatorial Guinea case, where a lot of people had assumed that presidents that have stayed so long in power should be able to leave the space for younger people or other alternatives, but that did not happen. A lot of Angolans were sad about it. A lot of Africans too were sad about it. But in the long run, elections was set to have been held, and he was declared as the president again, making him the world's oldest president. At the moment.
Okay.
Another event was yes.
Right on.
You wanted to say something?
No, right on.
Yeah. So another event, is the French, the Mali-French tensions. So we had France used to have a good relationship with a lot of francophone countries, but somehow after the coup that saw Assimi Goïta take power, both countries began to sing discordant tunes, and then there was a withdrawal of Barkhane and a lot of anti-French sentiments in the sub-region, which saw protests, in some countries, which saw reactions against everything that the French government has held, for so long, for which a lot of these countries continue to respect and support, considering that they have colonial roots. These are some of the events, and then one other event, which was a sad one, was the effect of a torrential rain that saw the death of dozens of people in the DRC. Don't forget, DRC is battling the M23 rebels.
Yeah, in its eastern region.
Yeah, it has held accusations against Rwanda. Rwanda has repeatedly denied not being involved or funding M23. However, there was, a flood, a situation, a heavy rain downpour that saw collapse of buildings, that saw displacement of people, that saw a lot of people die, which was a painful one also. There are other eventful happenings, like the South African president's Fala Fala case, the farm case, where he had to defend himself He had to be challenged by the House of, by the parliamentarians. He had to face inquiries where, he had to also defend himself, on how he acquired so much money, but did not declare such amount of money, and such money was found in his farm. So these are some of the issues. As I remember them, I would mention them to you.
Thank you so much. That was really indeed elaborate. Over to you, Mr. Betako. You are a youth leader, a global one at that, and equally a medic. Now on the health field, in terms of leadership and health, what marked you this 2022?
All right, thank you so much. One very amazing thing that resonated with me this 2022 on the with respect to the African continent is the African Climate Week, which also led to the COP27, that's United Nations Climate Change Conference, which held in November 2022. And this conference was really so timely given the serious and severe effects of climate change on the African continent. The African continent, which is the youngest so far in the world, records the least amount of greenhouse emissions, but is most affected by a lot of floods, a lot of droughts, and a lot of heat waves, which has been reported to increase by 2030. So this conference was really very important, and it took place in Egypt. It was timely as it brought together stakeholders from the global sphere to come together on the African continent to really strengthen the regional momentum to take action towards climate change. And it's something that is not just limited to a particular continent, is a topic that is not just limited to a particular race, is something that cuts across all sectors. And if we are to thrive as a planet, then we must ensure that we all rally together to fight against climate change. You see now the patterns in rain are changing. The temperature is gradually increasing. Floods everywhere, like my colleague earlier said, ravishing millions of, displacing millions of people, and killing hundreds of persons. So there are a lot of effects that climate change, and even the health sector, you discover that we human beings induce climate change, and if we must really combat this, then we have to begin sensitizations. And that's why I really appreciate African youths for their action and resilience this 2022 by standing up against climate change and really being the voice that Africa needs at this particular point in time.
Being the voice, that is what leaders are calling upon when it comes to the young generation in order to partake in the fight to make the continent a better place. Back to you, Shito Forowa. At the economic level, we've seen countries like Cameroon and Nigeria induce or eject new banknotes into their economy. We equally have at the level of currency the Central African Republic that adopted the Sango coin at its new legal tender earlier this year, striving to be economically independent, though there were several countries that recorded a lot of debts at levels, and they're trying to counter that. Now, what appraisal can you make of this move as the continent strives to get to 2023?
So for me, it is only fair that while we struggle with issues of, unemployment, we struggle with the issues of climate change, we should also understand that climate change is one of the major drivers of war. So that when we say that there is insecurity in the country or in a sub-region, we should also ask if there is food security. Yes. So people will continue to move. There will be a lot of migrations. There will be a lot of displacement of people, internally displaced people running away from conflict, leaving their homes and getting to other countries. And they will face resistance because every country is barely, struggling to keep its youths afloat, to keep everybody going. Therefore, when you come into a place like South Africa, you see resistance. You see the youth saying, "Go back to your countries, go and take jobs from your countries, and leave us alone." And that was what battered the Operation Jujula that saw a lot of angry South Africans sending people back to their various countries. Again, they shouldn't be the ones to be implementing immigration laws and all of that, but they feel their inability to secure jobs, primarily because of those who have come to their country to seek jobs. So we are hopeful that some of these conferences, seminars, and workshops that African leaders continue to attend will not end up as lip service alone. It should be such that we can be able to interpret in concrete terms that this that they had done or this that they had gone for had fetched us this and this. So I mean, it's that easy, really.
Indeed. Mr. Albertaco, let's now talk culture, because we can wrap up the year 2022 without highlighting some key aspects at the cultural level. Now, objects pertaining to the African continent are cultural heritage now, and some of these artifacts were returned to countries like Nigeria, we had Benin, we had Cameroon, and other African nations. What impression did you have when you got that some key artifacts that meant a lot, that was sacred to the African people, were being returned to their respective countries?
Okay, I really want to say that culture underpins the African man, and we are what we are today because of our cultural heritage. And I really encourage every African youth to be proud of that. First, of your roots, you must be proud of where you're from, and always be boastful of it. Returning back those artifacts is a way of respecting the culture of those people, and it's very, very important. Like I said, culture is really at the bedrock of our very own origin. So it's really very important being proud of your culture, and those artifacts being returned goes a long way to help even the younger ones to learn more about their culture, because there are some artifacts that have various significance, that's meaning and all of that. So knowing what they are and seeing them, that's been in the museum and all of that, will really resonate in the younger ones, the younger generation, their culture.
Thank you so much. In order to proceed with you, Ashitu Forowa, governance, the system of governance in Africa, especially West Africa, has been threatened, and that of Central Africa at several occasions. Now, this system of governance has been put to test. How do you evaluate the system of governance? I remember I asked this question earlier on to Shitu Forowa when we were discussing Ethiopia. When I'm asking this question now in relation to the African continent, how or what evaluation can you put of the system of governance in Africa? Do you think it's weak or it's strong?
Okay, so I'm always of the advocacy that Africans should always have African solutions to African problems.
Yes.
But we cannot reinvent the wheel. Democracy has been shown over the years to be one of the major drivers of growth and development across the world. What our problem is not what system of government, but the sincerity to go through that system of governance. Because all systems of governance were designed to primarily meet the demand of most of the people, not fewer number, of people. So when you have that happen, when you have leaders who are able to follow through with what they have promised to do, it will be easy for Africa to meet its enviable height.
Over to you. Thank you immensely, Shitu Forowa. Over to you, Albertaco. You are a leader, a youth leader at that. So now, what's your evaluation and what piece of advice could you give to leaders across the African continent? Mr. Albertaco, are you with us?
Okay, maybe let me help while we wait
Yeah,
for
right
him.
on.
Can you, yeah, can you ask that question again?
Yes, so I was asking that being a leader, and we have leaders now that are striving to resolve numerous crises that are affecting the African continent, what piece of advice could be given to them as we all are moving into a new year?
Okay, so it is easy to talk, but it is a lot better to
For actions.
follow your word with action. So it is actionable, steps that ensures that the citizens begin to believe in the government. They begin to trust in the words of the government. That is what Africans expect, because you will have beautiful constitution, you will have beautiful rules, regulations governing the country. But when people begin to contravene the rules and they are not reprimanded, they are not penalized, then what you have is that they trade probity and accountability for anyhowness in the country. So you see people doing things that go against the natural law of justice and natural law of order. So my advice is not just in them using the words as they speak, but in following the words with action. I think Abetako is back in.
Thank you so much, Chitu, for filling in for
Okay,
him.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr.
Yeah, so
Ahmed.
essentially that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, I would like to say
Thank you.
leadership is more about service. Like he said, accountability is very, very important, especially in leadership. And this is reflected in communication. If we have leaders that don't frequently communicate with their people, the people they lead begin forming opinions. Some assume certain things which are not true. And when that assumption takes place, it starts making them to form certain arrive at certain judgments which may overall bring down the country. So I really love for our leaders to be accountable by communicating frequently and regularly with the people. How is the just update us with various important information. All right, so it's very, very important. And also, leadership is service. Leadership is not dictatorship. Leadership is influence. Being able to influence the people you rule with your life as an example is also very important. When we have people that at age 87, for example, we have leaders at age 87, for example, or age 85 who are sick, and we still hide it. There is a problem. Of course, we expect someone at that age to be sick and be down because the body's physiology changes with age. You don't expect a young man like me or rather someone as old as 85 or 87 to still be as active or reasoning smart like a young man like me. Of course, there is that physiological breakdown that occurs with age. So we must be real to ourselves. We should not hide things. Recently, I think not recently, on a video earlier this year, I saw the US head of state. He was riding a bike, and that video went viral. He was riding a bike, and he stripped off. He fell. He stripped off and fell. The press did not hide that part because he is the president of America and all of that. No, he had to. I mean, he's a human. The fact that he was riding a bicycle as a human is but normal that he should fall. Being a president does not mean it excludes you from certain human things. Things are peculiar to humans. So I really want our presidents to be more of human than more of gods, because most of our presidents are more like demigods. So leadership is service, leadership is influence. You must be able to serve the people and listen. Service goes with listening. You have to listen to what your people are saying and act accordingly. Ensure that everyone's opinion is considered in highlighting the vision or drawing the vision of any given organization, it's very important to work from a shared vision. That's what leadership will tell you. Don't devise a vision as a leader and sell the vision, or some people will say you sell your vision to your people. No, you don't sell your vision to your people, because they also have what they think about that particular structure, that organizational structure. So their visions must be included in the overall vision of that particular organization for them to have a voice and for them to have a spot. So that is what brings about accountability, like my colleague said. And in doing all of that, you really see that there will be a lot of progress, there will be a lot of development, and everyone will feel comfortable with our leadership.
Thank you so much for that powerful closing remark. I shall be coming back to you. Mr. Shitu Forowa, a few words before we wrap up today's edition.
Are you with me?
Yes, I am.
So, leaders should deploy best practices as they can see in office that are progressive. Because we live in a global world where things are easy to replicate. When things are working for others, we should adapt it. We should not have to wait for decades before we are able to benefit from some of these best practices. So that is one. Secondly, there should be more regional effort towards building our nations. Because, you see, it is easier to do business with China than to do business between Kenya and Djibouti, for example. And what are the issues? Infrastructure. We will hope that government will see the need to ensure that there is better trading, there's better, there's a, adoption of best practices, and, the respect for rule of law, the popular opinion of people, so that when people vote and people make decisions, electoral decisions, governments respect it and ensure that what people decide is what, it gets announced, to the public. So basically, these are some of the areas of interest. And then finally, on climate change, it should be taught from primary school. The conservation of water, the need to plant trees, the need to, to not expend carbon as much as, we are used to expending it. It has to be an integral part of our learning. This is how we take this and then become policymakers tomorrow. And we know that there are things that has to be done in order to ensure that we have better environment to live and work and survive and live for our, yet to be born children.
What I've taken from that is we all have a role to play in the betterment of the African continent. My guest for today, I had Shitu Forowa, who is the digital news editor, joined us all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. He just spoke, and I equally had Abetako Mark Atong, who is a global youth leader, a medic, and the SDG coordinator. Gentlemen, I'll say thank you immensely for joining me on today's edition of Talking Points.
It's my pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's edition of Talking Point over your Pan-African channel for you Media Africa. I have been Jigs Napise for presentation. We evoked a lot of powerful points today. I believe you learned something from today's edition of the program. Of course, the last edition for the year 2022 shall be coming up on Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Do have a great day.